Hello, I'm Frederik Steinmetz, and I've been using Photoshop for like 12 years, I guess, by now, and I think it's a great program. It can do a lot of things. It's just a couple of things that I don't understand why they are so hard to do. And if you've used After Effects or Blender or something, you just plainly see that it's not necessarily this complicated. And yeah, I want to start with my favorite example of weird behavior of Photoshop. If I have this picture of the daisy here, I go to Filter, Render, and then Lens Flare. You'll get a preview window. This is this big, and you can kind of guess what you're doing. And yeah, you can't really control anything. All you can do is control the where the center is. The rest Photoshop does for you, and you can select the prime. But a lot of times I would create a new layer and fill that layer with black and then set the transfer mode to screen, because I like to have more control over my lens flare. And if I just get the lens flare on this layer, I can increase the brightness later on. And if I do this, all I can see is this black, and I have to guess where my lens flare is. And yeah, that's one thing I find really weird in Photoshop. Okay, here's the next example. Let's say you want to make a text get somewhat of a pattern. Well, which I mean is, I'll just write sky text. And from this I can make it bigger so we can see the sky texture. I get that, and then I can go to select pixels, double click on this layer, make it a layer 0, and then I can add a, if I go to layer mask, and reveal selection. That works. And this one time I did this for a home page. Of course I didn't do anything this cheesy, but and later on they wanted to change the font style. And I don't think there is a way, if there is, please tell me, to use a sort of a dynamic mask for anything. The only tools you can use to actually manipulate this mask are actually those. So in GIMP, if you click Add Mask, you get a lot of more options, and you can, for example, say I want a grayscale copy of the layer to be the mask. In Photoshop, I guess the only workaround I could think of was to define this image as a pattern for your bucket, then fill the mask with that pattern. And that just seems really cumbersome to me, and I would really like to have a dynamic mask where just I can move the text around after I created the mask. And if I want to revisit my project, go to keyboard shortcuts, I can of course edit the undo redo, and I want actually my Control Z to be step backward, and I just like it much better if you can go through your history and you just don't just repeat and disrepeat the last step. That does not make any sense to me, but you can turn it off, so it's okay. And I can go to Filters Liquify, which I guess is one of the most that was the wrong layer. I just created those to test my history, and I can go to, as I said, Filters Liquify, and I guess this is one of the most popular plugins. Let me restore this so you can see what I'm doing. And I can, of course, liquefy this, and I can make it bigger, try to make this bigger, or I don't know what I just did. But still, the thing is, I don't have more redos than one in this liquify tool, and since the liquify tool in Photoshop is very unprecise, that means what I mean is that you have to kind of guess what you're doing and do it all over the feeling of your hand. To me, it's really weird that you only have one undo option, and I really don't get that. And also I do a lot of 3D work, and if you have done that yourself, you know that adding a vignette to your renderings can greatly enhance your realism. In Photoshop I kinda have to guess where I'm starting, and then I can draw this, and then I think maybe that's not good enough, so I want to shrink or expand this, and I can sort of guess. And in After Effects, all you need to do is double click on the symbol, and it will create the perfect selection around your photo just by double clicking it. And you don't have to guess or anything. You can just do this and then expand your selection in real time, which is something I really don't get why you can't do that. I mean, I could now I could now create a new layer, of course, and then I can invert the selection and then use the bucket tool to fill this with black, and then I can go ahead and blur this. This is just not what I would expect from a professional program, that it takes so many steps to make a vignette. And then also the blur filter is kind of weird because it didn't really do anything. So I guess I have to use the Gaussian blur, and I actually want the fast blur, not the Gaussian blur for this, but I guess I'm stuck with this one. Okay, I got my vignette after a couple of steps, and as I said, I don't know why you can't just select the entire picture or make sort of easy selections. And this is, in my eyes, the biggest thing that is wrong with Photoshop. Photoshop is all done by hand, and if you want to construct something with units or centimeters or anything else, the only thing you can do to increase that is to show the rulers. But even if you do show the rulers, you don't really you're not really able to draw precisely. For example, if I wanted to make my selection a specific size, like 1024 by 576, I would probably have to go in here and guess, and then I have to come back to the selection and then guess again. And you can activate the info here, and you can see that my selection is now 62, I guess that's centimeter, but I'm not sure. And if I wanted 63, I have to redraw my selection, and yeah, in my eyes that's really weird. Another thing is, if you want to produce a grid in Photoshop, I understand that you have to predefine a pattern. Let's just say I want to distort these stripes. Go to distort and then go to twirl. There's only the way to select the exact center. There's no way to offset my twirl here, and I guess you can duplicate your image and then, or your layer at least, and then move it so that the twirl will now be the center twirl will now be the one you need. But again, this is something I really don't get. In After Effects, if I have a couple of effects on my layer and I realize later on that I actually didn't want that one effect. Like, for example, if I add a curves effect here, and of course this is going to clip my colors. Actually, this is starting to look pretty cool. And if I do this now, and I find out later on, then I didn't want to clip those colors, and then I can't go back and just undo the curves. I guess you can with a history brush or something, but that really isn't an option for me, I think. I mean, of course you can use an adjustment layer for the curves, but why isn't there a way that you can sort of stack your effects on top of your layer, like in After Effects? And of course, with a 32 megapixel image, that would eat up a lot of RAM, but you could just create an apply button like Blender has, so as soon as your effect combination starts eating up too much RAM, you can just say, I want to apply this effect now, and sort of to make it real, pixelate it, render it, whatever word you like best. Undo, test this time, and then I press Ctrl T to get my freeform tool, and now it's distorted, and I actually didn't want it to be distorted, but I don't know how to get it undistorted anymore. I mean, by distorted I mean it's higher in Y than in X, and I could of course press Escape to undo my distortion thing, but then it will also change back my text. So if you've typed in a text that's fairly long, like a couple of lines, and you accidentally distorted it, I mean, that's what an undo button is for. But as long as you're in this mode, in this free transform mode, you don't have any undo, which again is really weird to me. And if you do something like that, I would, and you can accidentally move this one, and well, you do a couple of things that you like and you really are happy with your result, except for one thing: you can't undo that last step or something. And also, if I start clicking anywhere, Photoshop just won't react. And first time I used this, I actually had no idea what's happening, and you have to press Enter in order to get out this free transform mode. I mean, there's an error message for every stupid thing I do wrong, and it's really annoying me. But the one thing where actually there would be an error message would be nice, or at least a window that says, do you want to exit free transform mode? No, that just doesn't react, and it feels like Photoshop froze. If you free transform a photo layer, let's just make this really small and make it big again. Actually, it does lose quality, so that's kind of weird for me too. I mean, why can't this layer stay in the RAM as the original size layer, so that it doesn't lose quality every time I resize it? So I really have to, this is something in Photoshop that I don't like, I really have to duplicate my layers a lot and make safety copies of them, and then if I realize I did a mistake, I'll lose all the work I've put into this layer and have to start over with the duplicated layer. And also my image tends to get, my file size is big with all the layers, my RAM usage is starting to get big as soon as you have a couple of layers and a couple of undo steps. And if you had the layer stack, the filter stack, which you can apply as needed, then all this wouldn't be a problem. You wouldn't have so many garbage layers that you don't need. Lastly, and I think I should have led with that, I really don't get why Photoshop does not snap to 100% zoom. I mean, 100.25. Whoever wanted to see his image at 125% scale, or here 94, 94, and 104.4. This I don't get at all. I guess you have to press Ctrl Plus in order to get the increments. I'm actually trying to mail this video to Adobe, hoping that they will actually make some of those changes. And so if you have a comment on what I did stupidly, or if there's a easy solution for some of the things I criticized, then please let me know. And if a lot of people give me thumbs up and actually agree with me about Photoshop being a very unprecise program, then yeah, I'd like to know that, so I can send this to Adobe and hopefully improve this program. Yeah, thanks for watching.